It's February, which means it's time to shop my shelves. I don't know what any of this is. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Alyssa. We are here to build my February TBR. Every month I shop my shelves and my library and I pull out books to read for the month, and then I make myself a big pile and then I attempt to read through them. I usually get off track, but we're going to go with it. This is what I've got in the pile for February 2023. I'm going to start right off on the top with something that is definitely being held over into February, and that is Gravity Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. This is going to be its own video, this experience. This is only being read for the booktube, and oh, is this an experience? Do I know how to explain this book? No. This is like the classic lit bro book that like nobody has read, but the people who say that they have seem to act like that's some sort of level of superiority over the rest of us peasants who don't read. Pinchon, this dude. It's a trip. I am coming in on the halfway point. There's a lot of ween. I'm going to stick him back there because I have to remember to get back to that. On the 1st of February, we are starting our Lord of the Rings read along with a few people from the Plek Discord. So if you don't follow Katie Books, I feel like it sounds like I simp Katie because I spend so much time in his Discord. But anyway, there's a group of us that are reading Lord of the Rings. We're starting on the 1st. That's happening. I got myself my own bind up. I think I talked about this so that Jesus cannot get mad at me for ruining any of his beautiful versions of the Lord of the Rings. This is my bind up of the Lord of the Rings. We watched the first movie the other day. I'm ready. Naomi and I have a stack of books that we are going to be reading to talk about on the podcast. So if you don't follow along on the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to listen to podcasts. There's also the raw, uncut video footage of us filming over on TBR Lowdown on YouTube. So you can find that all in my description. The description has lots of cool things, like my Patreon link. Check out my description. Anywho, so one of the things we're going to be reading is Housekeeping by Marilynne Robinson. I don't know a lot about this. I'm not going to be giving you guys a lot of summaries on these books. I'm just showing you what I'm reading. This is going to be a quick and dirty, fast and hard TBR. Okay? Housekeeping, short. I hear fantastic things. Naomi's already read it. She threw it into my cart at McKay's last time we were shopping together and was like, you have to read this book. I don't care. You're getting it. And it's here. I keep seeing people talk about it. It came back into my world recently. It is time. The universe would like me to read it. I'm reading Housekeeping. One of the other books we're definitely going to be reading is Monogamy by Sue Miller. Don't know a lot about this, but we both had it on our shelves for a while. We're kind of excited to read this and dive into our thoughts over on the podcast. And then also for the podcast, I've showed this in so many TBRs. So many TBRs we've showed this. Teaching White Supremacy. Donald Yakovone. I keep calling him David. His name's Donald. We're finally reading this because we need to read it and we need to discuss it. And it's just time. It's time for us to do that. So we finally drew a line under it. We're doing it. We're doing it this month. I went through all of my audiobook holds and I'm pulling out all the books that I know I'm going to have audiobook holds coming in for in February so that I'm prepared instead of like thrown for a loop like I normally am. And things that could be coming in from Libby this month include Still Life by Sarah Winman. I'm not a huge historical fiction girly, but I do like really good ones. This is supposed to be phenomenal, so I'm very curious to see how I feel about Still Life. Kindly Gifted from Knopf. The Whalebone Theater, which is like heavy. It's one of those heavy hardbacks that you're like, oh my God. Like they're about the same size and there's definitely like a significant weight difference. I don't know a lot about this other than when the early review copies were going around, everybody was raving about it. And then it came out and everybody was raving about it. I really haven't heard a lot about it since, but I'm very curious to find out what the fuss was all about when it was coming out. It's a debut. I guess it's got World War II in it. I guess I'm spending a lot of time in World War II this year. I'm not sure how I feel about that. For a mystery, I'm pulling out The Last Housewife. Okay, I've heard really good things about this and I keep seeing it around again. and I think it's time for me to read this. People seem to like it. So hopefully I like this mystery thriller. If you've read it, please let me know. For the Patreon big book club pick for me, for my Patreon, my patrons and I are reading The New Life by Tom Crew, which just came out. Thank you to Scribner for sending me this beautiful arc. I cannot wait to read this. It is a gay Victorian romp, and I've already heard that it's very smexy, and I would like to. I would like to read this right now, but I've got to get through some other things before I can start. Very excited about The New Life. So yeah, if you want to join the Patreon, if you want to read The New Life with us, go down below. There's a buddy read tier, and we will be reading The New Life. Finally, books that I physically have on hand. I have The Choice from Nora Roberts, which is the third in her Dragonheart Legacy trilogy. This is like an Irish fairy fantasy romance that is pleasant. So this is one of my pleasant reads. I've been reading a lot of really dark, heavy things in January. I need some light, pleasant in February. So we're going to wrap up that trilogy. And everything else that's on my TBR is either an audiobook or an ebook. I have the next two in the Amgash series. So, Oh William and Lucy by the Sea. These are books 3 and 4, obviously, of 1 and 2 were already discussed. Book 3, Oh William, is our Booker of the Month book for February. I'm not ready for all the Oh Williaming that is going to be occurring, but I am very interested in getting to Lucy by the Sea because it seems like a lot of people really like that one. So I'm curious. They're short audios, they're good car books for me. So I will be listening to those while I drive to work in the month of February. I have a couple more books, including My Phantoms by Gwendolyn Riley, which is a hostile mother daughter relationship, stands at the center of this astounding, blackly humorous novel. That's why I put it on audiobook hold. It sounded fantastic and right up my alley. So if you've read My Phantoms, please let me know what you think of it. I'm very curious about it. I can't wait to listen to it. Hopefully, I love it. I kind of went down too much of like a sad girl millennial rabbit hole in the middle of January. So hopefully, I don't go back to that hole. And if I do, hopefully it's in a good way and not in a this is too much way. I don't know if that makes any sense, but My Phantoms. I also have When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill. And this is charismatic Marie Antoinette is the daughter of the richest man in 19th century Montreal. She has everything she wants except for a best friend until clever, scheming Sadie Arnett moves into the neighborhood. Immediately united by their passion and intensity, Marie and Sadie attract and repel each other in ways that thrill them both. Their games soon become tinged with risk, even violence, forced to separate by the adults around them. They spend years engaged in acts of alternating innocence and depravity, and when a singular event brings them back together, a dizzying effect will upend the city. It just sounds phenomenal. The cover, as you can see, is phenomenal, and I can't wait. When We Lost Our Heads dazzlingly explores gender, sex, desire, class, and the terrifying power of the human heart when it can't let someone go. Yes, I'm reading this. And then finally, I have two more books for us for to potentially read this month. And one is Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. I read my first Rushdie last month, which is like the 2 years, 8 months, something. I'll put a picture of it up. So I read this one and it was a fever dream. And Midnight's Children is almost out, like almost available for me to listen to on audio from Libby. These were kind of two approachable Rushdies that I was recommended to try to sample Rushdie to see if he is an author for me. The jury's still out. There is an expert tease of language and storytelling that I can see in his works. However, what the hell is going on? Are all of his books like me just going, what the hell is going on? So we're going to find out. Midnight's Children sounds very trippy and interesting. We'll see if I like it. That's down there. That's on my list. And then for other strange and possibly confusing reads, I have The Deloriad, which is supposed to be gross and weird and We're going to see how I feel about it. I have it on ebook. We're going to see how I feel about the Delorean. I'm very curious about this book. I might genuinely despise it, but I need to know. I need to know how I feel about the Delorean. So it's on the list for this month. There's a few of us who want to read it. So it's there. So that is everything that I have in my pile to read in the month of February. I'd love to know what you guys are reading. If you have read any of these, I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm super excited to start Lord of the Rings to see if I like it because I'm full disclosure, I tried to read The Hobbit when I was younger and I hated it. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. The movies, love. Hated The Hobbit. I didn't love The Hobbit the movie. Let me just clarify that. I loved The Lord of the Rings the movies. I hated The Hobbit the book when I was a kid. Hobbit the movie was, I don't know if I've ever seen it all the way through. And I guess that's my review of it for you. I'm very curious to see how things shake out with The Lord of the Rings. I'm very curious to see if I actually finish this in February. I'm going to try desperately. I've been spending my mornings when I'm still getting caffeinated so that I don't get too bogged down in all the insanity in this book to just chug through some pages. So hopefully I can get through the rest of this soon because I don't know how long I can spend in this book without actually going insane. Thank you guys for watching. If you would like, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building